Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the very least comfortable show on the web. It is The System is Down, where we talk about all the uncomfortable topics like conspiracies, politics, religion, a bunch of libertarian stuff that usually makes you sleepy if you're not a libertarian, unless you're into that sort of thing. But we also like to talk about things like alt tech and new fun things in the world, and we're going to do that here in just a moment. But before we do, let me find my intro button, and let's get... Shit, where's my intro button? I've never found it the first try, but let's get weird.
The following is a Goulash Media production. goulashmedia.net.
Remember a simpler time when it was okay to be weird, have fun, and think for yourself?
Well, those days are over. The art of conversation itself is dead. Sacrificed on the altar of divide and conquer and disguised as political correctness and spared feelings. I believe that unity can only come from truth, and that the only way to find truth is by exploring and embracing our valuable differences and having civil, open-minded, and uncomfortable discourse. Conspiracies, politics, religion, and all the taboo topics are mainly just praise you don't bring up around the Thanksgiving dinner table. We are here to literally change the world one uncomfortable conversation at a time. So if you're easily offended, put your big girl panties on and buckle up, Buttercup, because you chose to be here. I'm Dan Smots, you are the power, and this is The System is Down.
Yes, it is The System is Down. You've made it. You've made it back. The world has not ended yet, and we're all very semi-thankful for that. We're going to get into a conversation about a thing that you may have heard about, you may have not heard about, and you may be wondering, why though? As I am. And I'm really excited to get into this conversation, but before we do, I gotta remind you guys about... Shit, I forgot to update my sponsor video. So you get to watch this and see no sponsor list and a frozen camera. I don't know what the hell is happening today. Go join the Downers Club if you want to support the show. For as little as $5 a month, you can get bonus episodes of the show. Normally, there would be a list there that plays with all your names on it. If you want your name on that list, that definitely exists, then go sign up at patreon.com/The System is Down, where we get more weird, more raw, more offensive, more fun, more weekly content, bonus episodes of the show every single week at patreon.com/The System is Down. We are also sponsored by Brave Botanicals. If you like Kratom, or if you like weed, or if you like colloidal silver, vitamins, minerals, all sorts of things, go try some Kratom specifically for free at freeounceofkratom.com, or you can try everything there. It's the same website. I know I make it a little bit confusing, but mybravebotanicals.com or freeounceofkratom.com for all those things. You can get Delta 8 THC in vapes and gummies and flour and all sorts of things, even joints, pre-rolled joints. And try a free ounce of Kratom at freeounceofkratom.com and enter the promo code TSID for 5% off your entire order. You can't get 5% off the ounce of Kratom because it's free. They're not going to pay you to take it or anything, but you can get 5% off the rest. Promo code TSID, freeounceofkratom.com. We also are sponsored by The Royal Green, which is a book written by Jack Casey that is all about things and mystical stuff, sci-fi, civil wars, and The Matrix meets Romeo and Juliet. I don't know. I haven't read it, but Kayla has, and she's going to be reporting back in soon with her update on The Royal Green. But if you would like to get ahead of the curve and find out what happens, go check it out at theroyalgreen.com, because Dave Casey is a guy who's cool enough to support this show and wrote a book. So, theroyalgreen.com. All right, whatever. Now we are going to say hello to our guest today, which is the wonderful Jess Mears. Jess, welcome to the show, and how are you doing today?
I'm doing really good. How are you?
I am doing well. Now we have run in similar circles for a while, and we haven't really spoken at all, except for on maybe one occasion. So I don't really know who you are or all that much about you other than hearing about you from all these people. It seems like your name pops up everywhere. And tell me a little bit about you and, what brought you to where you are today. You can go back as far as your upbringing and how you found liberty and, what your life has been so far in the semi-abridged
Well, I'm
version.
going to take you back to the year of 1988. I was born in a little town called Lima, Ohio. It's a pretty rural town in the middle of nowhere. And I had parents that they were 21 when they had me, and they weren't necessarily ready to be parents at that time. And by the time I was about 5 years old in kindergarten, my parents decided that they didn't want to be together anymore, and they got divorced. And as a little kid, having my parents separate took it incredibly hard. I didn't do very well in school, and my teachers decided to send me to a grade called pre-first. I didn't flunk kindergarten. They didn't let me go to first grade. So I was put in this grade with some other peers as well that apparently weren't ready for first grade. And that then meant that I already was a large child. Coming out of the womb was a big baby. And because I went into first grade after pre-first and met up with the kids that were in kindergarten the year before, I was then a year older than all of them, as well as much bigger than all of the kids in my grade. And so I was a kid that didn't feel comfortable in my skin. I didn't feel comfortable in my home. My parents really weren't around. I was a latchkey kid looking after my little sister. And the reason why my mom wasn't there when I was a little kid was because she was working multiple jobs to make ends meet for our family. And I didn't really have a whole lot of adult supervision as a child. Until I was in middle school, I had friends that I'd go over to their slumber parties, and I would wonder, like, why isn't my family like their families? They have two parents and things seem so normal. My home, while like I wasn't neglected, there just wasn't a lot of adults that were that involved in my life. And so I found through a friend inviting me to her church youth group in middle school, the first ever community that I was a part of. And there were adults that were there. And if I didn't show up to church youth group events or to church, they would check in on me and wonder where I was. And so this was my first really ever community.
Yeah.
And it really helped me to have people in my life that cared about me. It kind of put me on a path where I found my way instead of potentially getting involved in crime or self-harm. And I really feel like that community saved me from what could have been a different path. And now, years later, as I look back, community has been everything to me. It's made me feel like I've been cared about. And I've really noticed that community is something that helps people. And I've become a community builder. And this is what I've been dedicating my life to. I've been organizing around politics, but at the core of it is that I'm organizing and creating community. And what I've also learned as I kind of have examined my upbringing in my life is that I was robbed. My mom was working 2-3 jobs because she needed to make more money. The government was taking 30 to 40% of her income, and that in essence was the government was robbing me from 30 to 40% of having my mom around. Yeah. And so when I look back and look at my personal story of why I'm an advocate for human freedom, it's because I want other children to have their parents there for them. I was very lucky. I didn't end up on a bad path, but it could have been so easy for things to be very much different for me. My outcome could have been way worse. And instead, I found community at my church. I used to organize emo, Christian, hardcore, ska, punk concerts in my church for fundraisers for us to go on youth group trips. So I found a talent in organizing for concerts and getting people to turn out. That translated really well to when I got to college and became a political organizer. So I've been a political organizer at the college level. I lived in a retirement home for 1.5 years. So I organized retirees. I've been creating Libertarian Party county affiliates on state committees. I worked on the Johnson Weld campaign. I worked for the National Libertarian Party for 4 years. I worked on the Jorgensen Cohen campaign. And this has been kind of my life's passion. But at this whole root of it is that I want communities to succeed. And I know that the libertarian path is the one that lets communities flourish and help people out.
Awesome. Now there's like 25 things there that you mentioned that could all be like rabbit trails of their own. Just when you said the Christian emo hardcore scene, I'm like, those are my people, from back in the day at least. And we could.
Where did you grow up?
Illinois, so Midwest.
Oh, not very far away.
yeah, same.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you were all about the community at the time because of the church and that type of thing. What
Mhm.
kind of transitioned that community into, how did you discover libertarianism, and get involved in this completely different and some might say counter to the super religious? I don't think it's that, but a lot of people look at it
Yeah.
that way. How'd you get down that path?
So I signed up for Facebook when I was a junior or senior in high school, and they prompted you to put your political affiliation. And I didn't know mine at the time, but I did a little search. I found the world's smallest political quiz, found the LP platform, and I read the whole LP platform. And at that time, it specifically called for legalization of marijuana
Mhm.
in the platform. And that was like the one thing where I was like, I like all of this except for that,
Yep.
because I thought that smoking weed was a sin. And so I was against it. But I decided, though, that libertarian was most closely aligned with what I was. And I selected libertarian on Facebook and kind of just started to consider myself a libertarian. But I really got involved in college when I started a campus group my freshman year
When you
and
started smoking weed,
became,
when you're like, this isn't that big.
yeah. Yes. I
Sure.
like that. People ask me, like, how did you overcome this like stigma of cannabis? But it's like, I tried it
Tried it one
and I
time and
learned that,
realized it
like,
was a
it,
bunch of shit.
yeah, I was like, I don't think I'm going to hell for this.
Right.
So at that point, I was kind of like, well, my views on some of the religious beliefs that I've had have been kind of a little discolored. But yeah, I really got more in depth with libertarianism in college. I hosted Judge Jim Gray in college as a war on drugs speaker. And we
Mhm.
had a lecture series. The football players came for the free pizza. And because we had like these talks about drugs, it was an interesting topic that we had like hundreds of college students come out, and could have been just for the free pizza, but we had
Yeah.
some really great conversations.
Whatever gets them in. Absolutely. So,
Mm-hmm.
so, man, it's gonna get. We might have to do some bonus and talk about some band life stuff because that's not what we're here to talk about. But we
Yes.
certainly can go there. Name a few. Just name like two.
Okay. I loved Emery, and probably the most hardcore band I listened to was The Chariot.
I have the Chariot lyrics on my forearms, and
Oh yeah.
I've had Toby Morrell from Emery on the show. So
That's
anyway,
awesome.
and I shot a Zayo music video a couple years ago at random. So weird
Amazing.
crossovers that you discover. Thanking podcasting and community. Transitioning back to our actual conversation. So you were going into the libertarianism stuff, and you say that the weed was basically the biggest hang up. I know
Yeah.
that there's not like a super defined platform on abortion. It's kind of
Mhm.
that one's kind of up in the air. Weed is libertarians all agree weed's fine, but abortion is a sticky one for Christians to get in. Was
Yeah.
that a problem for you as well?
No, it wasn't. And I don't even remember what the platform was at the time because it changes
Yeah,
every couple years. So whatever I read at that time it was just, I saw weed and I was like, not that.
yeah,
Not only not that though, but everything else good.
yeah. Cool, gotcha. So you transitioned a lot of your band days. You said you worked as kind of a promoter of bands and stuff like that, right?
Mhm.
And so
Yeah.
that obviously transitions into using those skills for what you do in promoting politics
Yeah.
and stuff like that. Same for me. It was like I did band stuff and I shot like music videos for my bands and local bands and stuff like that. And then I worked in studios. That transitioned into, oh, I can do a podcast because I've got all this gear sitting around that we're not using because we're all adults that don't play music anymore. And the video stuff, obviously, the same. So, how did you? So you started getting into the libertarian stuff, but what actually got your foot in the door as far as like working within, like the libertarian sphere?
When I started my college campus group, it was like my freshman year. I saw at Welcome Week that there were college Democrats and college Republicans, and I didn't see libertarians represented. So that was really the time that I learned that if you are a libertarian and you want to have any kind of libertarian presence, you're probably going to have to create it by yourself. So I created a campus group, and it was amazing. We did so many fun things. We went to a national convention with the LP, and we had gun range days. This was though like in 2007, 2010. So I'm sure trying to get ammo purchased by universities is a little more difficult today than it was back then. But my University of Cincinnati paid for us to go and have a range day with instructors in Ohio, and it was awesome. So I, at that point in time, reached out to the Libertarian Party of Ohio and found out that they needed help. They needed me and the college students to get involved with the Libertarian Party of Ohio, which I wasn't expecting at that time. I thought like, oh, this political party has everything together, but nope, no, it didn't. So I found myself as like secretary of the Libertarian Party of Ohio, and they asked me to run for office. So I ran for state senate, and I was just running and doing all the things. And, it's kind of like once you kind of get your foot in the door, it can get out of control. So if anybody that listens to your podcast that is considering getting involved as a libertarian activist, kind of choose wisely what you want to do, because it can get a little all encompassing very fast.
You better have a passion for it, because it will consume all of you.
Yeah.
So how did you so I wasn't even really that much of a libertarian during the Johnson Weld campaign. It was like that was like the beginning for me. Was I dipped my toe in the waters of everything that was going on. I was like, oh, because I was raised, my dad was a pastor and all that. I was raised, you're a Republican because you're a Christian, obviously. And I quickly realized that that's not the case. And I was always anti-war, but I was like, I'm not Democrat, but I am anti-war. And I agree with this and that, but I didn't really know anything about libertarian stuff. And then Donald Trump came in. I was like, okay, I'll start paying attention to what this stuff is. But I'm not voting for that, and I'm definitely not voting for that. So I started exploring the libertarian space and got my foot in the door there. But there's obviously a lot of like problems with the Johnson Weld campaign, just like there are plenty of problems with the Spike and Joe campaign. What was kind of the tone for that? Like, how has this stuff progressed since you've been involved in working on these campaigns?
What I've definitely noticed is that the last couple cycles have brought in a wave of youth to the libertarian movement, to the party specifically. When I went to that national convention in 2010 that my university funded for us, because we got campus funds to send us to it, it was white male over 50 for the most part. Yeah. And now the national conventions have young people, families, people bring their kids with them, more women. We still lack a lot of diversity in the LP, but we're trying our very best to be a party that looks like what America looks like. Yeah. And I've seen a lot of change, and I'm relatively optimistic about the future. And when it comes to why hasn't the Libertarian Party been more successful? Why haven't our candidates been more successful? I mean, clearly Democrats and Republicans do not want third parties to succeed because they don't want more challengers. But I learned something. Somebody sent me this video. They said, while I was working for the National Libertarian Party, they're like, you need to watch this video because it explains so much. It's Simon Sinek's video, How Great Leaders Inspire Action. And one of the things he covers in that is the law of diffusion of innovation, which shows that anything that is going to innovate and reach mass market adoption has to go through this phase where it has like the early adopters, the early innovators, and then around 13.5%, there's this chasm that anything that's trying to innovate, if it doesn't cross the chasm, it's going to die. It's not going to get there. And so the Libertarian Party has never gotten over the chasm. Once we do, though, you then reach the early majority, and the early majority is going to tell the late majority, and then the late majority tells the laggards. And that is when you once you get past this chasm, you're going to have mass market adoption, and there's no controlling it at that point. Like, you have won and you've succeeded. We haven't won yet. And what I want to see the Libertarian Party do is focus now, start now with the building the blocks to have a successful campaign. One of the biggest hurdles for Libertarian candidates is debate access. We haven't had a candidate represented on the debate stage with a Democrat and Republican. And that's because they require a certain polling threshold to be on the stage. 15% in the polls, 5 polls at the debate committees, the Commission on Presidential Debates at their choosing. Well, they've had a very good justification for not including us because we have not hit that threshold of 15%. I think it's a little high and I think it's unfair, but we should be able to do it. This is something, if we're really trying to win the White House, we should be able to poll at 15%. So my suggestion for anybody who wants to see somebody be the president of the United States as a libertarian is start now, start recruiting candidates. Recruit candidates with great name recognition. If they don't have great name recognition, then they need to have a big, huge grassroots movement behind them. So that way, when 2023 comes around, you can start the push to say, when you get a phone call for a poll, you say this name. And so we haven't done that, but that's how we're going to cross the chasm on that law of diffusion of innovation. It's a pretty sweet graph that if you just display it, it shows so easily. And it really depicts why haven't libertarians succeeded? And it's because we haven't actually ever crossed the chasm to get mass market appeal, but we can do it. It's just going to take a lot of work.
Absolutely. Yeah, so you are all about community. You're all about, just branching everything out further and further and further. And you're across pretty much all the social media. So you are putting there's a lot of people who seem to preach about these things that aren't actually doing it themselves. And you are actually, your name is everywhere, for better or worse to those that like you or don't. I don't know why anybody wouldn't. Again, I don't know that much about you. That's what we're here for. But
I have a few enemies, but not too many.
Okay. Anybody I know?
Oh, probably not.
They probably all hate me too, so it's fine. So that brings us into the social media climate of today with this Clubhouse thing that I keep hearing about that you're pushing everywhere. I mostly keep hearing about it from you, so you must be pretty passionate about it. Can you break it down?
So passionate.
I'm not as old as Matt Wright, but I have a bit of a boomer brain, and I was actually born in '88 as well, so I don't really have any excuses, but do you want to explain to me what this is and why it has value?
Yeah, and my first ever social media platform was MySpace, and I used MySpace to promote concerts. And
you didn't have a Zanga?
Social media, I didn't. No. I wasn't really into writing.
I was ahead of you on the curve at one point, but it only lasted about a year, I'm sure. Because I had a Zanga. It might still be out there somewhere if you want to go track it down. But MySpace was the shit, and it still should be.
I'm a certified nerd and spent my days pre-MySpace playing chess online.
Nice.
So,
yep, I hear you.
When I found MySpace, I found it as a marketing tool. And I have been using social media ever since then to market libertarian ideas and build community. And I have found Clubhouse back in January of this year. Somebody told me about it. It was an exclusive invite-only app, and I downloaded it. And I have so many things to share about Clubhouse. It is it's really done a lot for me personally. I have been using it to network, to learn, to make connections with people all around the world, to continue building my own personal platform as an activist and organizer, and making friends. So which one of those do you want to talk about first?
I want to know what it is exactly.
It's
an app that's not as good as MySpace, but it might be better than the others. Tell me more.
It is. It's invite only at the moment. It is audio only, so you do not have to put on any special attire to use this app. You cannot even type on the app. There's no type function. You can write a bio, you can upload a profile picture. Everything else is 100% your voice or your ears. You can listen or you can talk. And there's going to be, when you get onto the app, I'm going to kind of just display it on my phone so that way your audience can kind of see what I'm looking at. But there's going to be, when you scroll through it, so I could right now go through this and scroll, and these are all rooms. These are things that I can jump into, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about these rooms.
Okay.
Like the first room on this algorithm, what it shows me is there's libertarians right now talking. The people that I see talking at the moment are Connie Keller, Jimmy Lee, Michael Cordello Jr., Patricia Berthod, Nalik Trump. Trump. Oh, I cannot miss that last name.
Yeah.
So those are some libertarians that are right now having a conversation that I could join in and say like, hey guys, how you doing? But only if the moderator of the room would allow me to speak. So the moderators of these rooms have complete control over who gets to participate in the conversation or not. The next one that I see is future career astronauts. And I noticed in your intro video, you had a NASA t-shirt on. You have a space first walk on the moon poster or newspaper behind you. So I'm guessing you're probably into space.
In a way, I'm more into whether or not we've gone to space, but yes.
Oh, okay. All right. And then, so like you can have these conversations that are, I'm going to just call out my two buddies here. If you see this one that says Kush and Brandon, and it's got a little lock next to it, those are my two buddies. They're having a private conversation right now that nobody else can join unless like you've been invited to join them, but they're like my Clubhouse besties that are also libertarians that I've made, and I haven't met them yet in person, but we're gonna meet at a birthday party. Milton Friedman's grandson has invited us to his birthday party, so I'm gonna meet them there.
Nice. Like a real in-person birthday party or a Clubhouse birthday party?
Yeah, he's turning 45 and he's having a birthday party that he's inviting some people to. And so I'm really excited to go to his birthday party, meet my friends, and it should be just a really random adventure. But that's a little taste of like what is Clubhouse. It's audio only, so you can kind of just you can tap into it whenever you want. For me, it's replacing podcasts. I have mostly stopped listening to podcasts entirely because I have this great. I know. I was wondering.
Go on a bunch of podcasts and tell them they're going to be obsolete. Great.
Yeah. But you could have your podcast airing on Clubhouse, so it's like it can add more listeners to you. What I love about it is that anybody, if you start a room that's open, you can do closed rooms or social rooms that are only open to your like followers, but the open rooms allow anybody to drop in, anyone that's on the platform. So something happened really cool the other day. I was talking to a couple dudes, just having a very casual conversation, and this guy named Mark Andreessen followed me. Like once I clicked the room, sometimes like people accidentally click a notification and like hop into the same room that you're in. And Mark Andreessen came into this room, and I kind of freaked out because I've been wanting to talk to Mark Andreessen. He is the inventor of the internet browser. And I want to get to know him. Like this guy is a very wealthy man, and as a political operative, I'm always interested in meeting people that have financial means because we need donors.
Right.
But also he could open up so many doors for me. And
we lost ya. We'll be right back after this quick message from our glitch, folks. 1 second. And we're back. Continue wherever you feel like. So a friend
of mine called me and said, why is Mark Andreessen following you on Clubhouse? And I said, I don't know why. Who is he? And my friend told me, like, this is the guy that invented the internet browser. And I was like, well, I don't know how he's following me. I've never talked to him before, but turns out like we were probably in a conversation and I was talking about something and he must have thought something I said was interesting and decided to click that follow button. But
Cool.
that's why he followed me into this room, is because he's following me. He got a notification I was in a room, probably accidentally joined it. But there's a lot of really cool opportunities to meet people like Milton Friedman's grandson, like the internet browser inventor. I was hosting a room last night on the filibuster rule, which is a Senate procedural thing, kind of wonky, but I am doing some presentations on the filibuster rule for work. So I wanted to hear more people's opinions on it. And Swan Sit, the Nike CEO, came into the room. So you can be hosting these conversations and you'll have no idea who can stop by. This app was started in Silicon Valley. So some of the top investors, some of the like people that are venture capitalists, angel investors, they're on the app and they're actively looking for things to invest in. So It's been a kind of a cool opportunity for me to run across some of the millionaires and billionaires of the world.
Awesome. I like it. That's cool. And as you speak, the more interesting it becomes, because it was, when I had it explained to me the first time, I was like, well, that sounds like a podcast that wasn't recorded. Like, it sounds like you just had a conversation and you were allowed to listen to it at the same time. Now tell me why you prefer it over podcasting and why I'm going to be obsolete if you have your way.
What I like about it is that it's live and it's interactive. So you and I are having a conversation now, and there could be like, a chat box where people could like chat and chime in, and then it would be distracting for you and I having this conversation to have all these little chats coming through. But with Clubhouse, it's a group community dialogue. So say you and I started a room on Clubhouse right now, and we wanted to invite people from the audience to join us. They could chime in on this conversation, and you and I get to kind of like sit back a little bit and let more people drive the conversation or hear from people in the audience. And you never know who's going to show up. Like people, every single person on the planet is interesting. You just have to get to know them. And this gives you that opportunity to get to know people and get to hear them. The using your voice instead of like typing comments gives that raw authenticity where you can hear somebody's voice. You can hear the tones and the words that they're saying. But because Clubhouse is not recorded, it's recorded in the back for 1 hour, and then it goes away if there's no like harassment complaints that come through. It goes away. So you don't have to worry about if you mess up your words a little bit or you say something that you're kind of like, was that right? Like the other day I said something and I thought like, did I mess up what I just said? Cause that's embarrassing, but it wasn't recorded. Nobody's ever going to be able to hear it again.
It's gone forever.
Yeah. So it's like a live in the moment conversation. And I personally prefer it to podcasting. For me, I think that when I hear an interesting podcast, say I send it on to a friend, they might listen to it. They might not listen to it. But when it comes to Clubhouse, say I'm on Clubhouse and I'm hearing this really cool conversation and it changes the way I think about something, it then forces me to go and talk about it with my friends. I have to then go and have that conversation and kind of carry the message rather than just say like, here's a link here. I want you to hear this. But I'm not going to take the time to have that conversation about what I think about it or what I learned from it with you. So for me, it's opening up my eyes to so many new things and giving me opportunities to run into people and to learn. I've been learning so much. I have kind of found the space community on Clubhouse to be a very warm and welcoming space. No pun intended. And and
a
one of
cold
the people
and vacuumous space.
The person that I hear a lot from that I really enjoy is Jim Green. He's NASA's chief scientist. He's on Clubhouse many hours a day taking questions and contributing to these conversations. So I'm so pumped about the future of the space industry and everything that's been going on this year. And I've been learning so much. Can I teach you, if you don't already know, something about Ingenuity that landed on Mars?
You can try. Just kidding.
Okay.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so back in February, Perseverance rover landed on Mars, and I wasn't really following it back then, but
Mhm.
then I started getting into the space community probably around March. And I started listening to these conversations, and I was hearing from the engineers that worked on this helicopter named Ingenuity. And it's a 4-pound helicopter that was scheduled to fly in April or May. And it kept getting pushed back and kept getting pushed back. So I was kind of really excited for this first ever flight on Mars.
Mhm.
And it was just going to be this little helicopter, but I got all the details from it because I was hearing from the systems engineers, from the project engineer. Like, I got to ask these people questions. And like, this is me coming from like, I hate physics, but I got to talk with people, and we got to have normal conversations about these very complex projects. And one thing I heard that really, really just compelled me so much was that the project engineer decided to get a piece of fabric from the 1904 Wright Flyer and put it on Ingenuity before they shipped it off with Perseverance.
Cool.
And the reason why they did that is because the 1904 Flyer was the first ever powered flight here on Earth. And Ingenuity, the 4-pound helicopter on Mars, was the first ever powered flight on Mars, on another planet. So a little piece of Earth's first flight was on the first flight ever on another planet. And this is just over like 115 or so years that spans that difference. Like, we're now flying on Mars, and I'm so excited about it. And I got to be part of the celebration with the space community on Clubhouse, like celebrating with NASA's chief scientist on Clubhouse. And like, that was so cool. That day was just like, that was amazing. So it's really opened up my eyes to this community that I'm now learning from, being part of, and contributing to. I'm recruiting Robert Zubrin. He wrote the 1996 book, The Case for Mars, and I'm bringing him onto the platform so that way we can talk with him on Clubhouse, and like, I can talk to Robert Zubrin. Like, this is such cool stuff that's happening. Like, anybody you want to talk to, I get to talk to Dane Cook. I've asked him if he would join me in my quest for Zen anarchy, and he was like, "Well, DM me on Instagram about it." So I did. And
I heard you talking about that with Matt. What is Zen anarchy? I haven't even heard this phrase.
Yeah, I don't even know, but it was a room title that Dane Cook put up on Clubhouse. He's always trying to like come up with some like interesting room titles.
Okay.
And it was Zen Anarchy one day, and I was like, Zen Anarchy. I mean, that sounds a lot like what I want. I want anarchy, but people, when they think of anarchy, they think of it's being like chaos.
Right.
No, Zen Anarchy is what I want. So I was just like, let me go see if I can talk to Dave. And I joined the room and raised my hand, and he let me come and talk to him. And I was probably a little nervous. So I don't know how compelling my request was for him to join me in Zen Anarchy, but he let me have the stage. And I told everybody in the audience, like, the best way that we can achieve Zen Anarchy is for everyone to run for office. So no matter their political affiliation, I asked everyone in the room, like, you should run for office. Like, you should do that.
Yeah.
And Dane backed me up on that one.
Yeah. That's awesome. And the whole time you're talking, I'm thinking, how can we incorporate this? Because you can have, I'm curious if there's, well, first off, I want to mention, I am very intrigued to go into the space groups and stuff like that and just kind of poke around. Do they get like trolls and people, like crazy people like me who are just like, I don't know about this space stuff and this nonsense? I don't not believe in space. Okay. I just have some questions, but do they get things like that, like people pretending like they're gonna ask her a legit question, then saying, "We never went to space, you whatever." I don't know, you science.
That's the best part
Hoaxers.
about Clubhouse, though. Like, I love the trolls; they're usually pretty endearing, but also the conversations, like, to have these conversations, Clubhouse facilitates them. It is a very civil platform. And whether or not people have the same views, it is like the experience is better when people have some disagreements because you have to talk through them like a normal conversation.
Right.
And instead of it being like rage tweeting or rage
Right.
posting on Facebook, people are like trying to meet each other where they're at and come together to just talk about their own views.
Do
So
you
I
have
would
to?
highly encourage you.
Yeah. Do you have to have like your own name, or can you be in there like anonymously?
I believe that the policies do ask people to have their real names.
Okay.
However, I don't know how they could verify that. So
Sure.
you're open to you can't change your name more than once.
Okay. So it's kind of like Facebook-ish.
Yeah.
On that matter. The main reason I ask is because that was one of the things that I really liked about it. I know it's not very libertarian to be for lack of anonymity or whatever. But for me,
Mhm.
it's like there's certainly value to having a social media where you actually have to own your words. You actually have to speak them out loud and hear the power of the things that you're saying and
Yeah.
think about like how you're tearing somebody down or how you're lifting somebody up. I think that it will have a lot more, it will encourage more good behavior and have more self accountability if you're actually having to own the shit rather than just type, hit enter, move on with your day. So
Right.
the other value that I think that it could have is there's a part of me that's like misses the nostalgia of back in our day in the 2 years of the 80s and the 90s, when you didn't have like things on demand. You had to actually know a time that a thing was happening and make the effort to sit down and watch it then. Otherwise, you're just going to have to, I don't know, wait for the rerun or until technology gets better. But yeah, I think that there's certainly some values or some value to some of the, like, it's kind of combining old technology with new technology to where it's that, but you're interacting with people that you would never be able to, come in contact with otherwise.
Yeah, I had a friend like just hop into a room. And when I say a friend at this point, it was a stranger, but it was this man named Abdullah. And he's from Saudi Arabia. And he's just like the coolest dude. I have so much fun getting to know more about him and what his life is like in Saudi Arabia, like the societal pressures that are put on him for what marriage is going to mean for him, what his life is going to look like. He could be a stand-up comedian here in the United States. He's so funny, but because of the way that his life is and his upbringing,
Yeah.
he's basically determined to honor the traditions that his parents have set out for him. And I'm learning about other people's lives and what it's like in other places in the world, especially when I haven't traveled to other countries. So I kind of don't have this big world view of what places look like because my feet have never been there. But
Yeah.
I've been able to interact with people and make friendships. And so to me, it breaks down a lot of barriers around the world. And Clubhouse is a very special, unique platform. And the people that are coming to it are coming to learn. They're coming to be open-minded. It's a really different kind of social media. And I haven't really ran into anybody that said like, "Oh, I hate it." It's like maybe they're not finding utility in it, but
Sure.
they haven't maybe tried to find the connections that they need to. Like for me, space is the thing that I've loved the most about Clubhouse. But now we're rolling on libertarians on the Clubhouse, and we've had some really awesome conversations. We did Justin Amash is the first congressman that I've been working with to have conversations on Clubhouse. We did a welcome room for Dave Smith with Congressman Amash and Spike Cohen.
Yeah.
So those are three people that are presumed frontrunners for the 2024 nomination, despite none of them are currently campaigning for it. But to have all of those people in one room, we had 1,200 people stop by to listen in. And it was a really like game-changing sense of unity when typically libertarian campaigns for president become a little hostile, a
Very
little
hostile.
vicious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nasty.
And then
I was
this
surprised at
was
how
like,
bad it really is behind the scenes once you take a peek back there. It's
yeah,
like, you're not the happy libertarians I thought you were, are you? This is
yeah,
pretty
it
cutthroat.
gets nasty. But instead, we're able to kind of set this tone this far out of like, let's be cool bros. And everybody responded to the conversation saying like, that was awesome. Like they walked away with good vibes and happy times.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm excited about what we're doing to create liberty unity on Clubhouse. And on June 29th, we're going to have a Libertarian Podcasters Unite conversation. So I would love to invite you to represent The System is Down and join this conversation. It's going to be at 9 p.m. Eastern, and we'll probably go to about 11:30 Eastern, just because we're bringing in so many people that we want to make sure everyone gets a chance to be part of the conversation. So if you're interested in participating, you could come in at the beginning, the middle, the end, but we want to bring Liberty podcasters together to try to just like bring visibility to what you guys are doing and also show what unity looks like.
I'm in. I'm checking my calendar right now. Yeah.
Awesome.
It's a Thursday.
That means we'll have to get you on Clubhouse.
Yeah, that's the start. But yeah, I was trying to think of, because I'm not going to stop podcasting just because I can go talk to Justin and Mosh on Clubhouse. But I will go talk to Justin and Mosh on Clubhouse if I can. But I see value for podcasts and things like that. Even if they like, if they were like doing a podcast and streaming it live on there, basically, is that a possibility? Or like, is there a way to I don't know, bring a feed back into your soundboard or something like that, to where you can say, hey, we're opening up the Clubhouse now, and anybody who wants to talk can talk. We're going to do the Clubhouse segment of the show, because that's something that I think would be really cool to integrate, not just like a call-in show, but like, hey, we're going to have a conversation or do this bonus type thing.
Right. Yeah. What I personally would recommend doing is after your podcast, having the Clubhouse be an unrecorded conversation where your listeners and followers get to kind of participate. But you can record Clubhouse conversations, but their policies require that every speaker consent to the recording. So usually what people I've seen they do is they will like put in the title of the room, like recorded in parentheses, just so people know that.
Sure.
And so it doesn't violate the policies.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Now, I should have led with and opened the conversation with, how much is Clubhouse paying you to go around and sponsor their show? Genuinely. I don't know. Do you work for them or anything like that?
Nope. $0. It's just one of these things that like, I'm so passionate about it. And when I got on it, I was kind of like, there's not much of a liberty presence. Like it was kind of like, there were some libertarians. Matt and Terry Kibbe were the people that were hosting Liberty conversations at the very beginning, like January, February, but the Liberty movement wasn't there. So I'm trying to like bring my homies on so that way we can be entering in these conversations. And I'm seeing it happen before my eyes, where like people are flipping to libertarianism by being part of the conversations, and like libertarians are actually loving it. After I was on Matt Wright's show, a whole bunch of people got on, and now pretty much 24/7 you can get on Clubhouse and there are libertarians there chatting. Cool. I'm a single person. I live alone. I have 2 dogs. They're tired of hearing from me. So this is a way for me to like build relationships and kind of have this entertainment value. I don't really watch TV or movies. I used to listen to a lot of podcasts, but that has since gone away because what I'm hearing on Clubhouse is more exciting. It's real time, it's real life, and I can also contribute to the conversation if I want to. So it has become, for me, like a really, really great way to spend my time. And I'm excited that libertarians are also finding the value in it.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of value to be had on the libertarian unity side of things, because I'm all for the libertarian unity and stuff like that. And I feel like 90% of the problem with the libertarian unity movement, like why it, I don't want to say fails, but why it hasn't been more proactive is because it's all contained in these text conversations that are out in public that everybody gets. Like if you knew that you were going to be like on a conversation with somebody from across the country who disagrees with you on something, but they're willing to have that dialogue and conversation and not have it recorded, not have it be like blasted out, all over Twitter to try and cancel you or something like that. I feel like a lot more productive conversations could be had if people were able to just, I don't know, just actually have the conversation instead of trying to prove a point in front of a bunch of followers. So I think there could be a lot of good stuff to come out of that for sure. So I like
That's
it.
what Clubhouse does.
Yeah. Cool.
There's no like chats. Like I know that chat groups get super toxic and so yeah, there's no chat groups. There's just people using their voices.
Awesome. Yeah, if you're not willing to use your voice, then you don't have a voice. So that's on you. You don't have to have a voice, but you can't just lurk in the background. Well, you can lurk in the background, but you can't lurk in the background and also ruin everybody else's day at the same time. But cool. I'm definitely going to have to check it out. And I was pretty skeptical because, again, it just sounded to me like, well, it's like podcasting, but worse. So you changed my opinion on that, and I appreciate it. Do you have any?
You try it out and see if you like it. See if it's something you want to be part of. And at minimum, if you're a libertarian and you want to like every once in a while just like talk to libertarians, it's a great way to do that. But if there's something that you want to learn more about or a community that you're interested in, it's on there on Clubhouse. And the vibe of Clubhouse is homies helping homies. So there's a lot of like startup tips and tricks or how to pitch to a VC. And that was what actually made me excited about Clubhouse when I initially got on. Was I was like, people trying to help people get into business or how to be successful. I was like, that is libertarianism.
Yeah.
This is something that like libertarians should be part of, because like how do we help one another do better? And it's like we have to figure it out. And Clubhouse is free advice. It's absolutely free. There are people that are out there that are successful that want to share their knowledge. And that's why I love it so much, because I have benefited from it so much. And I'm also trying to get libertarians on the platform because I think we could benefit from it. And I think that people could benefit from us.
Absolutely. Now, I learned most of what I know because I went to what I call YTU, which is YouTube University, and taught myself everything, which was for free from people that wanted to help people, which is great. But the big problem with YouTube now, not necessarily on the learning side, maybe on the learning like libertarianism and stuff like that, but the biggest problem with YouTube now is obviously the censorship, and they have, their problems. They don't like this show, I'll tell you that much. But do we know? Is it too early to know, like, are they going to be censoring people on Clubhouse? Is there any whiff of anything like that coming down the pike?
Right now, the app has been backed by private funds. So I mentioned Mark Andreessen earlier. His company, Andreessen Horowitz, gave $100 million for this. I don't know how they're going to monetize it.
Yeah.
So that's all kind of unknown, but I'm really hoping that this doesn't get sold to Facebook or to another social media platform. But for the most part, there's a lot of free speech that's happening on Clubhouse.
Awesome. That's good to hear. Yeah. I mean, it might be only a matter of time, but at the very least, they should be paying you, because you're going around selling this harder than anybody that I've seen out there, because
I'll see if I can make that happen.
Yeah, I'll put a good word in for you with the people.
Thank you.
Now, is there anything else before we kick out and maybe jump into bonus? Is there anything else that you wanted to touch on to do with Clubhouse or anything else?
I would just recommend downloading the app. There is the wait list to get on it, but generally, if you have a friend that's on Clubhouse, you can probably get in very, very quickly. So it's invite only. Just go ahead and download the app, register your username, and hopefully somebody will let you in really soon. But definitely trying to advocate for libertarians to try to get on before June 29th when we do this like Liberty Podcasters Unite kind of event. It should be pretty fun. I'm also excited about like what's going to come of this. Like, how is this going to go? But Clubhouse is spontaneous order. You have no idea what's going to happen or who's going to join the conversation.
It's like anarchy.
Who can we get to show up? It is. It's like what is going to happen? So come find out, and it's not going to be recorded. So you got to be there, and that's why it's in the evening. So that way people on the East Coast and the West Coast can both be there.
Awesome. and I will be there. So if you want to hear me make a fool of myself in front of a bunch of people who are much smarter than me, do. I mean, we haven't even discussed this at all, but we will talk about it off air. Jess, thank you so much for being here. We do need to do a little bit of bonus at least, because I've got a bunch of other stuff I want to pick your brain on. But you're going to be at Pork Fest, and we're going to meet in person for the first time. So looking forward to that. Let everybody know where they can find you and everything you got going on, and any final thoughts that you have.
My social media handle is Jess for Liberty on every platform that I'm on, and I really look forward to talking to people on Clubhouse. I want to hear about your experience. Like, I want to know if anybody has cooler experiences than I did, or who you meet, and or what you learned, or somebody's life that you can change. I want to get that feedback.
Absolutely. Well, Jess, thank you so much for being here, and we will probably have you on in the future to talk about stuff. But yeah, thanks for giving us your time.
You're so welcome.
All right. Well, hold on. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to this episode of The System is Down. Please go do all the things that millennials tend to do, like follow, subscribe, and stuff. And go find us on Clubhouse, because we'll be there eventually. But you can send us email at dan@tsidpod.com. Send me some snail mail at P.O. Box 84, Aledo, Illinois 61231. Come join our social media network that is kind of dying, but I'm going to do something with it at antinewslive.com and all those things. You can also, did I say? Voicemail, 309-716-3818. Call in, leave a voicemail, and do all that fun stuff. But until next time, please continue to question everything, stay uncomfortable, and get the word out. Go join Clubhouse. Go follow Jess, and we'll talk to you then. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe on your way out and help us change the world one uncomfortable conversation at a time. And if you like what you hear and you want to hear more, go join the Downers Club at patreon.com/thesystemsdown for bonus episodes of the show every single week. Until next time, please continue to question everything, stay uncomfortable, and I'll talk to you then. Thanks.
This has been a Goulash Media production. goulashmedia.net.
This concludes our broadcast day. Click.